I used to work as a prison guard, and one day our warden decided it would be a good idea to bring his 10-year-old daughter in so she could see where Dad works. He left her alone in his office for just a minute when she wandered out. He found her 10 minutes later in one of the corridors, bleeding from her head with the fly on her pants undone. Watching him clutch her against his chest and hold her lifeless body, repeating "Daddy's got you, sweetheart" for hours, was a sight I'll never forget. From that moment on, he became obsessed with finding out who did this. He didn't even take a day off, just came in the next morning on no sleep and spent the whole day grilling every prisoner and guard. He offered bribes, reduced sentences, special privileges, anything for information. I remember watching him break down between interviews, then slam his head into the wall repeatedly so the physical pain could momentarily drown out the emotional one long enough to conduct the next interview. He rounded up everybody he thought gave suspicious answers and threatened them with solitary confinement or beatings. Guards faced firings if they hesitated. He even forced a prisoner to wear a wire during yard time, threatening him with 2 extra years if he didn't comply. When that didn't work, he became harsher. 2.5 weeks after the death, he came into work hammered, grabbed me by the shoulders and told me today was the beginning of the end. Then he rounded up all the prisoners and announced that until the truth came out, they'd only be fed every second day. The backlash was brutal, and the warden took that as a sign that the people protesting were guilty. He ordered us guards to beat anyone who stepped out of line. Some of us refused, but he threatened our jobs, saying, "If you're hesitating, that means one of you killed my daughter." He paced around the prison, either high or hammered, every day, banging on random cells to tearfully beg for someone to tell him who did it. When that didn't work, he began threatening prisoners' families. He'd call the most suspicious inmates into his office and vividly describe what he could do to their loved ones if they didn't confess. One particular inmate, Jeremiah, finally snapped and lunged at the warden in the office. He ended up stabbed in the arm and got 5 years added to his sentence. But tragically, the warden took that as proof of guilt. Jeremiah was brought back to the warden's office a few days later and nobody saw him again for days. We assumed he'd been thrown in solitary. Then one morning, on my way for coffee, I heard screaming from the underground tunnels. I followed the sound until I reached a door. Through the crack, I saw Jeremiah tied to a chair, the warden doing hormormovilive things to him: pliers, knives, blowtorches, even a buzzer lay on a table next to them. Jeremiah already had 2 fingers missing, and I could see salt being poured into his open wounds. I froze, then started banging on the door. The warden froze too, eyes wild, face splattered with blood. I yelled, "What the hell are you doing?" He screamed back that Jeremiah deserved to pay. I retorted that he had no proof. He went silent. I heard footsteps behind him. Peterson, another guard, coffee in hand. Peterson stopped when he saw me pressed against the door, but I told him there was an issue and I had it under control. He hesitated, then walked away. Behind the door, I heard Jeremiah's moans growing weaker. The door opened slightly. The warden's hand gripped something metal behind the doorframe. He looked me in the eyes and said calmly, "You can join me, or you can leave. But if you leave, you were never here." I backed away, heart racing. He watched me retreat, then reminded me to check the morning schedule. He'd assigned me to help with a special project in an hour. I stumbled back to the break room, my hands shaking so badly I spilled my coffee. Around me, other guards chatted about weekends, oblivious to the horror 50 feet below. My phone buzzed with a text from my wife asking if I was okay, worried because I'd missed dinner again. I pulled up personnel files on the break room computer to learn more about Jeremiah. 15 years for armed robbery, multiple infractions, suspected contraband smuggling. He wasn't exactly missed. The warden had chosen his victim carefully. That afternoon, the head of the prison board walked in, praising the warden's handling of recent discipline issues. He passed right by the restricted area entrance, unaware of what lay beneath. The chaplain arrived to sign papers for the daughter's memorial service, forcing the warden to play the grieving father in public while Jeremiah bled in the basement. It made me sick. By evening, I could barely function. I hadn't slept in weeks, haunted by those screams. My friend Rodriguez, whose son wanted the warden's recommendation for college, quietly warned me not to make him choose between his friendship with me and his son's future. I realized how trapped I was. Expose the warden, lose my family's safety and my career, or stay silent. But he underestimated me. If he could play dirty, so could I. I planted evidence, fabricated complaints, backdated reports, and dug up therapy notes where the warden had confessed interrogation fantasies. I hacked into cameras and built a case strong enough to bring him down. When the review board saw screenshots of complaints he'd marked resolved, the therapy notes, and my secret audio recording of Jeremiah screaming, it all came crashing down. The warden was stripped of his position, banned from corrections forever, and ordered to psychiatric care. Criminal charges followed. Jeremiah was released early, but vanished. My reputation was destroyed. My family barely survived. I lost my career, my friends, my community. The warden lost his daughter, his sanity, and his freedom. Justice came through. Institutional channels, federal oversight, mandatory reporting, reforms, but everyone paid a price. The daughter's murder remained unsolved. My son once asked if I regretted getting involved. I told him I regretted not acting sooner.